It's a messed up world. White is black, up is down, left is right. We're under, this world is under the curse. So where do we need that temporal light? In the first existence. In the Olam Hazeh. Not in the Olam Haba.
Now.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh. And I guess we talk a little bit more about this as we go. Now watch this. The table of showbread, or the Shulchan HaPanayim, literally meaning the table of the faces, had how many stacks of bread on that table? How many stacks of bread was on that table? Does anyone remember how many stacks of bread were on that table?
2 stacks.
2 stacks made up of 6 loaves apiece. Yahweh prophetically saying that even though Israel was at one time one people, through the division of the house of Yehudah and the house of Israel, those 12 tribes will become 2 separate houses. And in this world, but notice, you don't find that divided house in the second, in the Deutros. You don't find that division among the people of Yahweh. I'm a Baptist, I'm a Methodist, my granddaddy was a Reverend Most Holy Doctor. Pardon me, I will never say anything about your father again. He was a Reverend Most Holy Doctor. Yo contiste mi corazón, see? I told you I was an equal opportunity offender. Stick around, Bubba. We'll get to you. Wow, man. So the division of Yahweh's people was prophesied where? In the first, not in the second. Why? The second, Yahweh's people will be echad. The Father is in me and I in him. Father, I pray that they may be one, even as we are one. So the Messianic age, the showbread will not be divided into 2 loaves. You won't need the table showing the glory of Yahweh. We'll be in, living, moving, and having our very being in the glory of Yahweh, somebody.
Amen. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Amen. Hallelujah.
So that protos is a parable where we are right now. Well, time out. Are you telling me, Rabbi, we're in the Old Testament? Now, what would that do to most Sunday services? If the first blank is a parable of the present time. Did I make that up, or did Rav Shaul write that? Look at Hebrews 9:9, in case you don't trust me. Read Hebrews 9:9. The what? The first place where they were doing what? Sacrifices, where they were doing gifts, where they were entering every day, was a parable for the time present. Why? Because the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, and the Holy of Holies, the Kadosh HaKadoshim, was a parable of the time yet to come. Does this make sense? So if the protos is a parable of the time present, and Israel still divided into 2 houses, and we need the menorah, the light of Yahweh, because the light of the Messianic kingdom hasn't come. Whoa, man, are you telling me we're still in this present age? That's exactly what I'm telling you. Mashiach hasn't come. Boy, that'll shake somebody's theology. Now that doesn't mean that the Brit Chadashah has not been ratified. It's been ratified between the Father and His Son for you, but we haven't entered it until He returns. If we've entered it, why will He have to return? Think about that. If the renewed covenant has fully come, why does Yeshua have to return? We must be in it now. But it says no. All that stuff in the first place, all those articles of furniture, hello, Abraham, all those articles of furniture in the first place are a parable of the present time. The second something, not place, pardon me, the second something is a parable of something, a time yet to come.
Hallelujah.
But what happened? The temple was destroyed, meaning everything precious to Yahweh was destroyed, and He had to send Yeshua to rebuild everything in the first and in the second. Isn't that what we teach? Faith in Yeshua, the second, and the coming kingdom, and Torah observance. Yeshua came to restore and reform both things necessary. Oh, Baruch Hashem Yahweh. So even this world, brothers and sisters, even this current world system is not without good. It's not without godliness. It's not without light. Indeed, even this warped, wicked world system, represented by the what? Protos, has an order of divine service, doesn't it? Hello? Baruch Hashem Yahweh has an order of divine service. Right here is the place of worship. Once we pass into the world to come, or the Olam Haba, or the what? Messianic age, notice, our service will no longer be important. What was happening in the first? There was a divine order of service. Isn't that what Ephraim chapter 9 verse 1 says? Read it again.
Yes.
How many are tired? Raise your hand. Good. No one. I didn't look. Then truly, the first blank had regulations of worship and an earthly kadosh place. So there were regulations of divine order of service to Yahweh. Notice, this here, the first, is the place of divine service to Yahweh. But, listen, once we pass into the second, or the Dutras, or the Messianic age, our service will no longer be needed. It doesn't sound good, but it's true. Our service will no longer be needed. Rather, we will be with Him, loving Him in His presence. We won't be having an order of how to approach Him. We'll just be with Him. Amen?
Amen.
So the daily worship services occurred where? In the Protos, in the first. Only the high priest entered the Dutras. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Now jump down and do a few more things. Ephraim 9:7. Is anyone getting this?
Amen.
That will end dispensational theology once and for all, will it not? Well, brother, the temple was destroyed, the Torah has been done away with, and the priesthood will be done away with, and the temple will never be rebuilt. Well, wait a second. The first was a parable of this present time where there was a divine order of service, and the Kadosh HaKadoshim is a parable of a time to come when we will just be at the throne of Yahweh, symbolized by the ark of Yahweh, hanging out with the cheruvim, symbolized by the two angels, the cherubs hanging over the mercy seat, and fellowshipping with the angels over Yahweh's mercy, symbolized by the mercy seat on top of the ark, and within His kingdom, within the Messianic kingdom, within the age to come, within the Olam Haba, there won't be anarchy, there will be a Torah, so that all who love Him, according to Zechariah 14, will go to Yerushalayim every year and keep the Feast of Sukkot. And if those who want to rebel against Yeshua in the coming kingdom don't want to worship on Sukkot and keep the Feast of Tabernacles, according to Zechariah 14, Yahweh says, even upon them shall be no rain.
Amen.
My goodness. Everything in that Kadosh HaKadoshim, everything in that Holy of Holies, you will find in the age to come, i.e., the New Covenant. We got the 2 tables of atonement, we got the 10 commandments. That's the heart of the New Covenant. Isn't that what Jeremiah 31 said? Isn't that what Ephraim 8:8 said? That when Yeshua came, He would put the longing for the New Covenant in our heart, but He would have to bring it in Himself. Hello, are you still with me? He would put the longing for the coming of the New Covenant in our heart, but He'd have to return and bring it here Himself. Does it get any better than this?
No, you straight.
So we're in the Old Testament now. Whoa, baby, how many pastors will that send into retirement?
Yes.
I told you I'd get around to everybody, Kehillah.
That would be good.
How many pastors would go on an early 4K, 2K, 5K, goodbye K?
Yeah, I don't know.
We're in the old, according to this, we're not in the throne of Yahweh. We're not in front of the throne of Yahweh. If we're not in the throne of Yahweh, the second covenant has not fully come. It has been put in our hearts. We're born again in our hearts. The longing for the coming kingdom is in our hearts. But if it's come, why can't Yeshua stay in heaven? Why does he come to this sick place again? Because the desire, the Torah, all the things, the word, the pot of manna is in our hearts. We love the word. Thy word have I hid in my heart, that I may not sin against thee, Yahweh.
Amen. Hallelujah.
The budding of Aaron's rod, the desire to be Kohanim in the kingdom. We are Kohanim. The budding of Aaron's rod, we will have, the way we enter that second is through the resurrection, symbolic of the budding of Aaron's dead piece of wood. That's how we enter the second, by the resurrection of the dead when Yeshua returns. We long for that. We're not resurrected yet. Want me to prove to you we're not resurrected yet? Take a look, honey. See this round hole?
Oh, yes. All the greens, all the tails.
Let me talk. Let me talk.
Uh-huh. Come on, tell it.
You talk after. You see? Darren, listen. You see, oh, look, Rifka. See this? Oh, you see it all the time. Let me try. That's what I'm talking about. Now you know what I'm talking about. I'm bald. And balding and aging and decaying. And growing old. All right, go ahead. We'll have our collard greens in the kingdom. Make them happy. Make them happy. We'll serve collard greens in the kingdom. All right, make them happy. But I ain't there yet. I'm not resurrected. My body is not perfect like Yeshua's body. It's heavy, aging, and lopsided. I tend to lean to the right. Not just politically, but actually. I lean to the right. And I'd like to end that.
I would leave that alone.
Pardon me.
Leave that alone. You better leave it alone right there. Woo! Dangerous. Dangerous.
Now you know why we have Daryl in the front row. Keep things lively. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Yahweh. Amen. But we are and we aren't. I mean, we're in the first covenant, but the second covenant's in us, and that's really what it is. Yeshua came to put the second covenant in us, right? And now that we know it's in us, it's a guarantee, it's a deposit that we will enter it physically, just like it's in our heart spiritually. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Amen. Okay, now go with me to Ivrim 9:7. Ivrim 9:7. But into the Kadosh HaKadoshim went the Kohen HaGadol alone once a year, with dam, blood, which he offered for himself, and for the sins of the people. The Ruach HaKodesh therefore signified that the way into the Makom Kadosh was not yet made manifest. Did you get that?
Yes.
The Makom, where do we minister now, today, as believers? Where do we do our ministry to Yahweh? In the Makom Kadosh. In the holy place. The fact that the temple was standing showed that the way for us to be Melchizedekian priests had not yet come. Yahweh had to rely on the Levitical priests. The fact that the temple was standing our way into the Makom Kadosh had not been made. Once the temple was destroyed, now the way has been made for us to enter the Makom Kadosh in heaven and to minister to Yahweh. Does this make any sense?
Yes, total.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
The protos and the deutros. Now this will blow your mind. Let's read this carefully. I'll see if I can catch it so I don't miss it. I could miss it if I'm not careful. Turn to your neighbor and say he could miss it if he's not careful. So I'm going to be careful because I don't want to miss it. The Ruach HaKodesh therefore signifying that the way into the Makom Kadosh for us, as ordered, priest after the order of Melchizedek, was not yet made manifest, while the first was standing. See that? While the first, what is the first? What is the first? Protos. Well, guess what? The protons and the deuterons were destroyed at the same time, were they not? So wait a second. This can't be saying the holy place will be destroyed, but the Holy of Holies will be left intact.
Oh, I got you. Yeah,
You follow me?
yeah, I got you.
They can't be saying that. The holy place will be destroyed, but then there'll come a time when it's not standing. But the Holy of Holies will be destroyed. That doesn't make sense. They were both destroyed at the same time. And now you got it. Now you got it. Everything about Yahweh was in that temple. Everything Yahweh held dear to him was in that temple. Everything corresponding to life and godliness was in that temple. And Yeshua has to come to reform and restore everything. Because the way Christianity interprets this verse is that the what? Look, the first play, the first covenant, was done away with. Well, it says, while the first was standing, the second, our way into the holy place, could not be revealed. Meaning, you couldn't be a Melchizedekian priest to Yahweh while the first was still standing. Well, time out. If the first was still standing, guess what else was standing? If the first was done away with, guess what else was done away with? The second. That's not talking about first and second covenants. It's saying, what's the first? The earth, this age. You cannot enter your priesthood fully until the Olam Haba. Do you understand what I'm saying? We are called after the order of Malach Tzaddik. We're called after the order of Melchizedek. But we will not fully minister until that throne is established in the Olam Haba. So the fact that the temple was standing, notice, look, the fact that the temple was standing indicated that the renewed covenant and the throne of Yahweh and your place as priests in front of the throne of Yahweh has not yet taken place. My. If this doesn't blow you away, nothing will. Meaning we're called after the order of Melchizedek, but we're not in that order now. We're not ministering there now. Why? Because the Olam Haba has not yet arrived. The Olam Haba has not yet come. But it's a guarantee that it will come. So what was destroyed in 70 CE? Everything precious to Yahweh, everything valuable to Yahweh was all destroyed in one time. Everything symbolic of the current service and the latter service, and Yeshua is coming to restore everything. You get the parable? The fact that the temple is not standing does not mean the Torah has been done away with. The fact that the temple and the priesthood are not functioning is a parable to tell you neither is the world you are in functioning.
Amen. Wow.
But there's a little light. Rabbi Moshe's teachings. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. There's a little light. There's a little mayim. Take a baptism. You don't feel good. You're dirty. You sinned in your heart. You looked at the man. You shouldn't look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. You should just vote for him, but you shouldn't look at him. Take a little water. Take a little water. Cool off. Take a cold shower. There's an order to divine service. We sin, we repent. We wash ourselves, symbolic of the laver. We walk in the little light that Yeshua gives us with the menorah. We minister in an age and a time, at the present time. We minister, we walk godly in a present world, a sick age, a nutty age, a warped age. And no matter how much we try to preach unity and reconciliation between blacks and whites, between northerners and southerners, between Methodists and Baptists, no matter how much we try to bring unity, there's still, we all come to Yahweh's table divided into two houses. Instead of one stack, 12 tribes, 2 stacks, 6 tribes apiece. Is anybody getting this?
Yes.
Or should I just quit now? I feel preachy today. Not peachy, preachy. What kind of, well, peachy and preachy. Man. So with Pastor, sit down. Sit down, Pastor. I don't care if you have time. Sit down. Pastor, do you know the temple's been destroyed? Yes. That's why we're not under law. We're under grace. Right? Wrong? The temple is a parable of this age and the age to come, and everything is warped even in this age, and nothing is left. And Yeshua is coming to restore the temple and the priesthood and the people. You know why he's seated at the right hand of the Father? Until the time comes for the restoration of all things. Everything in the first and the second. Not covenant. Don't you add that word like all those translators. Everything in the first and second. When that age comes, when Yeshua returns, he will restore everything. He'll make this world right and take it into the next world. He'll renew with this world's people and take those people, those places, those cities, those lands, and renew them into the next world. He won't leave the protos behind. He'll renew the protos into the deutros. He will turn the protos into the deutros.
Oh, hallelujah.
Those who minister in the body of Yeshua, we are the temple of the Ruach HaKodesh, are we not? Yes. Those who minister in the protos are guaranteed to enter the deutros. But we're learning the divine order of service in the protos, because the deutros comes, there's no divine order, there's no more meritorious service, there's just the cheruvim symbolized by the Ark of the Covenant, and we're at the throne. There's nothing more to do, we're there. There's nothing left to do, we're there. Turn to your neighbor and say, we'll be there.
We'll be there.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh. I want to tackle this thing standing. Verse 8. That bothers me. Brothers and sisters, the temple is either standing or it's not. You can't have the what? The Makom Kadosh, or the first standing, and the second gone. Or you can't have the second gone and the first standing. They're either both gone or both standing. You get the significance of this? Yes. Can you even begin to grasp? Either it's all screwed up and nothing's in effect, or both covenants are still in effect. Both covenants are still in effect, are they not?
Yes.
Because when the first stood, the second stood. When the first was destroyed by the Romans, the second was destroyed by the Romans. Meaning, Yeshua is coming to overthrow the Romans. He's coming to overthrow the Romans.
Romanism.
Or to put it another way, they got the locals. Oh gosh. There I go. There. In other words, he's coming to overturn all the destruction of Rome, and restore both the first and the Levitical priesthood, as seen in Ezekiel chapters 44 to 48, and the Melchizedekian priesthood, us. And so when Mashiach comes, the way will be clear for us to fulfill our ministry before his throne. While that temple stood, it was clear that we had calling, but we couldn't fulfill our ministry before his throne. It is evident by the Ruach HaKodesh that while that temple stood, we could not fulfill our calling. And right now, we do it to the best of our ability. Hallelujah, hallelujah. We play violin like Nikki did today. We sing. There's an order to something. There's a divine calling and order of service. But we're not ministering before the throne of Yahweh, symbolized by those two cheruvim, who also symbolizes both houses coming together over Yahweh's blood, Yahweh's mercy as one. Notice, in this age, we have the houses in two stacks. In that age, the two cheruvim symbolizing the two houses of this earthly present world system touch each other for the first time. Go look at a detailed description of the Ark of the Covenant in the book of Shemot, in the book of Exodus. They're not just two cheruvim, they touch each other over the mercy seat. See the difference between the first and the second? In the first age, the two houses hate each other. Christians do pogroms and holocausts against Jews. And Jews talk against Christians, and Jews were killing Christians even in the first century. They started killing Christians or Nazarene Israelites. There's been a civil war in our family for 2,000 years, and it's going to stop.
All right.
And Judeo-Christian values and principles will not just be a politically correct slogan to use, it'll be the order of the day. And so then, when, not now, then, when, then, not now, then, when, then, both houses won't be separated at the table of fellowship, symbolized by the table of showbread. They'll be touching each other with the 10 Commandments over the mercy seat. Does it get any better than this? Tell me. And you know, here's the parable. It's not to be taken literally. I literally believe the Torah has been nailed to the cross. My goodness, wake up and smell the coffee. It's a parable. He's not talking about anything being done away with. When Yeshua returns, is this good or what?
Oh, yes.
I think I'm going to get the tape. What? What's next? The V94, 104, where are we? We're somewhere in the 100s, right? 200s. You got a lot of hot air to listen to.
No, it's 314.
No, those are audios. Videos were in the hundreds. Poor Tehila, she gotta listen to me every day. You can just check out, man. I mean, she's got I'm in her house.
Yes, I know.
Hey, look at this. Verse 9, which was a parable. See what happens when you have low self-esteem? You gotta humor your way through the message. Who said yes? Which was a parable for the time then present, in which were offered both gifts and sacrifices, listen, that could not make the Levitical priests perfect, or the worshipers coming to Yahweh through the Levitical priests. No one was being made perfect. Their conscience was still dirty, despite all the gifts and services of the first. Verse 10. They stood in food offering. And what is the first in parable? This is not literal. Parable. What does it mean? The present time offers no perfect service. The perfect service to Yahweh awaits the Melchizedekian priesthood and the full coming of the Brit Hadashah when Yeshua returns. Does it get any simpler? Where's the new covenant now? In our hearts, but it's not on the earth. Right? So what has been destroyed, Mr. Christian? Everything about Yahweh. His feast, his Shabbat, even the blood of his son is being ridiculed and trodden underfoot and counted as an unholy thing. Everything in this age has destroyed everything near and dear to Yahweh's heart.